DevOps friends, it's me, Jochen the Monospace Mentor. Welcome to my office hour where I answer your question if I can. Hey Duke, nice of you to stop by. Hello everyone, happy Friday. Yeah, so this is my office hour. If you'd like to ask a question around all the DevOpsy stuff that's possible, then please go ahead and send your questions to qa.monospacementor.com. You don't have to sign up for anything. You don't have to leave an email address or even a username. You can simply post anonymously. Please don't abuse it. And I'll get your question on screen and we'll do my best to answer it. That's all what this office hour is going to be about. I didn't prepare anything. It's how lazy I am. And I'll simply be sitting here and I'm looking forward to what you have in store for me. Yeah, so I don't have many updates while we are waiting for the first questions to come in. One thing that I can report is that I have become a member of Usenix, the international organization for Unix users. And I guess it was time because I've been using Unix and Linux for more than 30 years now. And actually, this is the 40th year of me in IT in total. And 3/4 of that I spent using Linux or Unix. So yeah, I have a little bit of experience to look back upon. And if you'd like to tap this experience, then feel free to ask stuff about Linux system administration, about open source software, about your IT career, about software engineering, all kinds of stuff. I mean, if I can't answer your question, I'll tell you, so it's worth a try. And so feel free to post your questions. And we already have a question coming in, so let's get right into things. Question is, what are some lightweight ways to set up a simple CI/CD pipeline for possibly multiple projects and tech stacks that don't need too much of a configuration and setup? Like, I don't want to spend an entire day just to configure it, to automatically test, build, and deploy the artifact to a specified production host. In my case, the current project is using Node, running through PM2 on a Windows Server 2022 host, not container-based as of now. Proxeus, hello, good morning to you too. Feel free to lurk in the background. And thanks for the question, Duke. So, I guess if you don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of things, it would probably be best to just take one of the off-the-shelf CI/CD services that are out there, either ones that are integrated in your source code repository of choice, for example GitHub or GitLab. I'm actually not up to date on what the alternative forges like Codejo, Forgeo, and so on offer in terms of CI and CD. I faintly remember them in part having something like that too, or at least being in the process of getting some, but you'll have to do that research for yourself, as do I guess. I should keep a little bit more up to date on these things. But yeah, I think simply using one of these CI/CD as a service would probably be the fastest way to get going. And in fact, I've been using GitLab CI/CD with my team for many years now, and so far I'm really happy with the experience. It's even possible to use a hosted GitLab repository, as we do, but integrate your own self-hosted GitLab runners, so your CI/CD processes can run on your own infrastructure, and even though you are using the hosted product offering from GitLab. So that is definitely something that I can recommend. Non-codes, welcome, good morning. Yeah, I think it's also good morning to you. Good day anyway. Duke added these details. Right now we are using a self-hosted Git server, which is very limited. Bonobo Git server. Got to punch my coworker about migrating that over to Git or something. That definitely does make sense. My recommendation would be to use one of these services. I mean, there are also, of course, CI offerings that are independent from Git repositories, things like Circle CI and similar services. Those are definitely also alternatives and viable options. Since you are in a Windows environment, I can't say anything, I guess, about these particulars because I just don't have really any experience running Windows workloads or doing CI/CD for Windows-based applications. But I'm pretty sure that those paid offerings will cater to people over on the Microsoft-based ecosystems as well. So I feel confident that you're going to find something either at one of the common repository providers. Maybe GitHub would be your best bet there because being owned by Microsoft now for quite a while would make me assume that there is enough coverage or enough support for Windows-based workloads as well. Thank you for that introductory question. That really got the juices flowing. So feel free to ask more questions at qa.monospacementor.com. And I'll do my best as I just did. Even though, as I said, Windows questions are out of my sphere of expertise, I guess. Especially, at least if they are very specific for the Windows development ecosystem. Non-codes, how you doing? How's your Friday so far? Let's get some water. Nice. Deploying your app on AWS, so it's taking shape, huh? That's great. Duke says the Node.js project I just spoke of, by the way, is a simple Fastify web server with a WebSocket server for a simple instant messaging service for our app. Kind of jank, honestly, but it works. I can relate. Kind of jank, but it works is more or less everyone's motto, isn't it? Not sure yet how it'll run when there are a couple hundred users connected to the WebSocket server, but I'll worry further about that once it might come to that. Or whip up some testing solution that emulates that many users. Yeah, that should be pretty straightforward, I guess. I mean, WebSockets is a technology that that was designed for many users, many concurrent users, so I'm pretty sure the technology itself is robust enough to run bigger workloads. And of course, it also is going to depend on the kind of infrastructure deployment you are going to use. For example, if you're able to run your application based on some kind of a function as a service infrastructure like Amazon Lambda or something like that, then you'll basically have infinite scalability, at least at the front end. I mean, if you have a back end, of course, that will have to scale up with demand as well, and that might be the bigger challenge, but it all depends on how your application is architected, of course. Without knowing details of your application, it's hard to predict how it's going to run at higher user numbers, but I think it's a good idea to postpone that and basically cross that bridge once you reach it. If it's just a test balloon, you might actually decide to take a different route, so solving these problems prematurely when there still aren't problems but just hypotheticals is most of the time, I would say, a waste of time and effort. Ninecodes asks, how are things will you be getting back to the routine? It's a struggle. And yeah, I'm still trying to get back to a routine and balance things out so that all my responsibilities are covered properly. It's a constant struggle, and yeah, I guess that it's going to stay that way. But I'm willing to dedicate myself to the challenge. Nankot says, yes, I still need to develop a CD system. Everything is new to me. Well, I guess, I mean, you are the one of the most excellent examples of learning by doing, and I have full confidence that you're going to also solve these issues in terms of deployment and continuous integration and things like that. Duke says, and well, I should have also used Redis and or RabbitMQ or similar for this from the get-go for obvious reasons, but I didn't feel like setting either of them up, which will probably come back haunting me at some point. Well, yeah, I mean, if you can already tell that something that allows you to do fast data storage or even asynchronous message processing, if that would fit the bill, then I mean, it's just on you to set aside a little bit of time to deal with these things. But hey, deploying Redis and or RabbitMQ is really not. So it's not going to take enormous amounts of time. And to be honest, both are really, really fun because of how well designed they are and how well they work in most cases, if the use case fits the technology in the first place. But I guess that's pretty much a given in terms of Redis and RabbitMQ. I'm pretty much looking forward to introducing a message bus or something like that to our own hosting infrastructure, because that will open so many doors for parallel processing, for faster reaction times and things like that. So yeah, that's something that I definitely need to work towards. It's nice to see the discussion between Duke and Nuncodes. I'll just add to it that both technologies like Nginx, for example, and PM2 can be used to basically pass HTTP requests back to a node application. But at least from what I read from Duke is that PM2 is much more specialized in running Node.js workloads, while Nginx is a generic web server, HTTP server. It's a very good one, but PM2 might have the upper hand in terms of handling specific Node.js applications. So it might make sense to run PM2, maybe in conjunction even with Nginx. For example, while I don't have much experience in running Node.js workloads, I definitely have experience in running PHP-based workloads, since our managed hosting platform is specialized in Drupal and WordPress. And here we have both. You can, for example, use Nginx to handle the incoming HTTP requests and then pass them on to PHP-FPM, which is more or less a PHP-specific process manager that handles its own worker pools and things like that. So it's maybe not even an either-or, but the question of how can we combine both things? How can we combine the robustness of Nginx in that case with the features that PM2 offers a Node developer? Duke says, I think I read that there is Nginx proxy, which supposedly is great for automatic Nginx configuration for reverse proxy stuff. Haven't used it myself yet, though, so I can't anything about it. You might be referring to the Nginx proxy manager Docker image or application, but it's commonly used as a Docker image. I do actually use that in my home lab here as the front end to all the services that I'm running on the home lab. I use Portainer to manage my container workloads. And there in Portainer, I have an instance of Nginx Proxy Manager running where I can then say, okay, I do actually forward all incoming HTTP requests that come from the internet to my house to the Nginx Proxy Manager via simple port forwarding and a dynamic DNS address. And the Proxy Manager then knows which backend services are running, be it Jellyfin or something else, and it knows the host names. So Nginx Proxy Manager not only does the Nginx configuration to pass incoming requests back to Jellyfin, it also does the provisioning of SSL certificates from Let's Encrypt for that domain. And that way, the Nginx Proxy Manager is a great application, especially if you're running container-based workloads in a home lab situation. There's another question. I guess it was from Duke too, but it doesn't really matter. Let's get it on screen. What was a project that really made you feel like, I get this? Where were you in your journey and what caused that feeling? Oh, no, I thought that question would refer back to my comment on I can relate earlier, but I would assume, and please correct me if I'm wrong, this question more means what was a project, an example of a project where I worked on this project and really felt that I was in my element, and where things fell into place. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'd have to think if I can come up with an example for that. Not because they are so rare, but because oftentimes we take these things for granted, don't we? Where you get in a flow state, where stuff just works out and you end your day with a feeling of great satisfaction and accomplishment. And then we forget them. That's in part why I write a gratitude journal, and I actually fell off the wagon there as well. That's something in my routines. Getting back to what Nan-Codes asked earlier, that I get more get back to doing more regularly. A gratitude journal is simply sitting down and writing down maybe 3 examples of what you're grateful for, be it in a personal or in a professional setting. And I guess these projects that this question is referring to should definitely be in there, where you say, I'm really grateful that this project or this particular part of the project was so much fun. I really got into the zone, and apart from a few hiccups, everything worked out nicely, things like that. And if my gratitude journal fulfills its purpose, I should probably be able to find a few examples in there, but it's not indexed in a way that I can easily retrieve these things. That's something that I'll have to think about. How can I easily get back to things in my gratitude journal? The reason is that my gratitude journal is part of a template that I have for every day, and so I don't use any tags or stuff like that. I'll park that question because I'd love to answer it, but I'll have to come up with an example. Duke asked, oh yeah, do your company just do WordPress hosting or also like in-depth WordPress setup, config optimization, etc.? I'd say the latter, because we are actually specialized in more high-end websites where there's lots of traffic and the usual challenges that come with high-traffic websites based on Drupal or WordPress. The reason that we focus on these more challenging websites is that we want to stretch our ops muscles and basically add them to our customers' dev capabilities. We usually work with web agencies who do great design and development services for their customers, but don't want the hassle of running the websites in the long term. And so we love to build a DevOps collaboration there. That's also necessary in that space, because when there are issues, oftentimes they are not really clear-cut between dev and ops. In a more simple configuration, you might have these clear-cut boundaries where you can say, okay, yeah, that's a hosting issue, the database is overloaded, or there are just too many customers on that shared hosting host or something like that, where the customer can't do anything about resolving these issues. Of course, there are also purely application issues where if you send broken SQL statements, the hosting provider can't do anything about that, vice versa. However, in the reality of hosting more sophisticated websites, things are often in the intersection between those two Venn diagram circles, because database response time is terrible, but that's not because of the configuration or performance of the database per se. It's because of the performance of your SQL queries. Maybe it's just something simple like you forgot to add an index on a specific column, and now your queries have to read thousands or millions of rows in a specific table. And that's why the database response time is so abysmal. Erebus, welcome to the stack. Thanks for the follow. So that's where this approach based on DevOps collaboration can really shine, because we can get in touch with our customer, or the customer gets in touch with us and says, response time here takes seconds, what's that all about? And then we can analyze what's happening. If it's not a purely application specific thing where we would have to familiarize ourselves with the custom code of our customers, that's something we can't really achieve, because that'll just take too much time, basically, to reach a level of understanding of the code that's on par or even above that of our customers. That would be more consultancy work, I guess. We try to simply add our ops expertise to the dev expertise based on our customer side, and that way, I would say, yes, we do in-depth setup, configuration, optimization, things like that. That's definitely why we limit ourselves to Drupal and WordPress as well. We don't even do other PHP applications, at least not officially supported, because, doing this kind of optimization work definitely requires intimate knowledge of how WordPress and Drupal work internally, where the limits are, where specific tripwires are, and things like that. Dugas, you do the hosting exclusively on servers owned and hosted by you, or also own customer provided servers they own? Usually we run our customers' websites on our infrastructure, which is a mix of bare metal machines and virtual machines. In terms of bare metal machines, for example, we might run a dedicated database cluster for a specific customer, or even a specific customer website, and running that database on bare metal, of course, is the best way to get optimum performance. But things like web application servers, where we need to be able to scale out quickly, for that we use basically our own private cloud. Balthazar joining us as well, saying good morning, everyone. Good morning, Balthazar. Good to have you. Duke says, I guess you also work with customers from Germany. Yes, we do. Since I founded the company in Germany back in 2010, we still have a historically large customer base in Germany and in the German-speaking regions in Austria and Switzerland. But by now we have expanded to a customer base that spans all of Europe, basically. At the moment, we don't intend to go beyond that, because we can do specific services to a Europe-based customer base, things like good GDPR support and compliance, things like that. Duke says, our servers are rented via Hetzner. Ours are too. It's all a mix of Hetzner root servers and Hetzner Cloud. Hey FarmDev, how you doing? So, even though, of course, I'm happy to answer questions posted in chat, for people who are continuously joining the stream, it's easier if you post your question to qa.monospacementor.com, because if you post a question there, I can get it on screen and people know what I'm talking about. Duke says, understandable, you are only 2 people in your company after all. Just so much you can do with 2 people, even if you automate most of the stuff. At some point, it just gets to a point where it's too much. Exactly. While we get additional capacity on a project basis, the general operations are basically between me and my business partner. And we definitely have to pick our battles. There's a question that FarmDev asked, what are you using for your private cloud, OpenStack? No, we use Hetzner Cloud. Hetzner is a Germany-based data center provider with great value for money, and we were pretty happy when they started building their own cloud infrastructure in addition to their bare metal servers, because that made things a lot simpler for us, having an API-based cloud that made it much easier for ourselves to run virtual machines. Now let me get to that earlier question, a project that made me feel like I get this. One of the projects that comes to mind that were in recent history, where my network simulation that I coded based on Dragon Ruby, a game development framework. That was so much fun, and those of you who joined me on my streams doing that can remember that this was a lot of fun. Getting to grips with something I've never used before, a game development framework. Oh, someone is using a motor saw or a leaf blower outside. I hope the microphone doesn't pick up too much of it. That was a lot of fun, not only because I was learning something new, how to use a game development framework, but also because I got to build the whole object-oriented design for the network itself and its components myself. And doing that kind of software engineering work was so much fun that I really want to get back to that. I really want to continue building this into a full-fledged application that, for example, I can then publish on itch.io. It's going to be less of a game, but a nice simulation for different network scenarios with load balancers or proxy caches and things like that. And that was something where I really had a lot of fun and where I felt that I was in my element. Duke says, not your usual data center servers, but more like customized consumer tech with modified motherboards, actual custom motherboards made to the specs Hetzner wants, which brings down the cost of the hardware significantly compared to using like an actual server from Dell or so. Yep, definitely. I witnessed this first when I was an IT manager at 1&1 back in Germany, because they did the same thing. They providers like these, especially if they are in the lower price segment, don't use off-the-shelf hardware. They don't buy Dell servers or HP DL 360s or something like that. Instead, they basically design their own hardware setup where, for example, you don't even have a case. It's just a sheet of metal where you mount the motherboard together with, say, a hard disk, and you might have a power supply that actually powers 4 of these enclosures, so you don't have to have a power supply for each and every server. That way you solve many of the cooling issues. You can, of course, increase the packing density a lot inside a rack, and the rack might actually be custom too. Of course, you can also save a lot of cost, as Duke says. It's more like consumer tech. It's not enterprise level hardware or data center grade CPUs or things like that. And that, of course, drives prices down a lot. I'm pretty sure these homegrown custom setups had their teething problems in the beginning, but with providers like Hetzner, who have been now around for decades, all these teething problems are pretty much solved. They don't have to build their own custom hardware anymore. I'm pretty sure they did that in-house at first. Now they can simply go to actual motherboard vendors and say, okay, we need a motherboard that only has these dimensions, that runs this customer, consumer CPU, and it needs a specific power plug that we can use with our power supplies. Things like that. Exegetes and Hi Exegete, welcome, says, doesn't Google also do centralized AC to DC power conversion? Yeah. When you cross a specific threshold, it just makes sense. Maybe not having smaller power supplies at all, but also, yeah, doing just the power conversion at a central location, maybe for a whole row of racks, or maybe for a whole data center room, and then supply DC directly to all these machines without having to have any kind of power supply inside the rack or enclosure. As Exegete says, it's just about economies of scale then. Duke says there was a YouTube video or article, not 100% sure anymore, about Hetzner, which was pretty great to watch. Yeah, they have their own YouTube channel now, and I think one of the most recent videos on that actually was about their cases and what their servers look like and things like that. GSI says the Der Bauer one. I'm referring to a more recent one, but yes, about, I'd say, a year ago, Der Bauer one, a well-known, I think, German YouTuber also did a visit at Hetzner and filmed a lot of the things. But yeah, I was referring to Hetzner's own YouTube channel. Over on YouTube, Agustin Schulze says, hi, hello, welcome to the stack. We have a new question over on qa.monospacementor.com. In your experience, what is the least reliable server component? Printers don't count. I would say storage media. Usually those... Nope. There's one that's even more prone to defects, and that's fans. Especially if you get vendor fans that come with a case or with a CPU. More often than not, they are really bad quality and might not survive for long. And in our experience, running hundreds of Linux servers, if one of our servers goes down for good, and not just temporarily because of network issues or something like that, it's most likely a fan that simply stopped and made the system throttle or even turn off for heat reasons. I mean, that's why fan manufacturers are making good money, because they can focus on making them not only silent, but also, I guess that's a side effect of having more silent fans with better ball bearings and things like that. They are also more durable. Printers don't count. It was just a few minutes ago, I was talking with my wife about printers. I have a laser printer here that I bought many years ago. It's an HP LaserJet. color laser jet that I haven't been using in ages. The only person that actually uses that printer is my wife, mostly for printing out scores for her orchestra. And we were talking about buying more paper, and I said I'm not going to check the paper supply here because I haven't printed a piece of paper in a long time, and so yeah, printers tend to last quite a while in this household because they are used so rarely. Where are we in time? 20 minutes to go for my office hour. Office hour means I sit here and wait for you to ask questions. And please be so kind and post them to qa.monospacementor.com because it'll make it much easier for me to get them on screen so people know what I'm talking about. And also, by the way, you can upvote other people's questions if the question is interesting to you too, or if you'd like to have it answered more quickly, then simply use these thumbs up button and boost another person's question. Duke says the fans on my computer are all be quiet. Came with the case, which is also a be quiet case. Okay. The PSU also has a Be Quiet fan, as it is from Be Quiet, and well, CPU cooler is stock AMD, GPU is stock NVIDIA. I don't think many people replace fans in their graphics cards. I'm not even sure how easy that is. I've never attempted to do it. I have made eye-opening experience with CPU coolers, though. I bought my original workstation from Tuxedo Computers because I wanted to support a company that is focused on providing great hardware for Linux. But the cooler wasn't too great, to be honest. And I replaced that cooler with one from... not even sure. Anyway, I replaced it, and my CPU temperature dropped quite a few degrees. So it's definitely worth it to look into replacing your CPU cooler as well. Duke says the build is nearly 5 years old now, probably going to build a new one next year. It's an AMD Ryzen 7, 32 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM, RTX 2070, and a 650 watt PSU. I have a workstation that's pretty similar. It's mine is based on an Ryzen 9. And with the PSU, I went overboard totally because I didn't have any idea what to take. So I basically took the highest spec one. I got a 1000 watt PSU. No idea what to do with that actual power. Something was misbehaving in the early days, and I think it was the PSU fan spun up all the time. By now, I guess it was probably more the CPU fan that I was hearing, but I thought it would be the PSU one. I contacted Tuxedo and said, yeah, normally the fan of the PSU isn't on at all, and is there something broken? And I'm pretty sure they simply chuckled, thinking what I was running to expect a kilowatt PSU to even spin up its fan. Because, yeah, I didn't have anything in there. The GPU at that time was a GTX 1080 or something. Now I replaced that with a 3060, which is more than enough. I mean, I could use a more high-spec GPU so I can run Euro Truck Simulator at full ultra levels, but I guess that would be a little bit of overkill. So yeah, my system is pretty similar. It's also got 32 gigabytes of RAM. So far, I haven't maxed that out, except when I accidentally spawned a dozen VMs at the same time. So I'm really, really happy with that setup, and I might expand RAM eventually, but that Ryzen 9 will always be bored with the workloads I can put on it. So that machine will hopefully last me for quite a few more years. I mean, it has 32 threads as well, so yeah, I guess I could run OBS without a GPU and that would max out those threads, but other than that, it's only when I do video rendering or things like that that this CPU gets something to do in the first place. To anyone who's joined us lately, this is my office hour, where I answer your questions if you post them to qa.monospacementor.com. Happy to answer all kinds of questions, especially when they are about Linux system administration, software engineering, career questions, design patterns, or stuff like that, as you've probably seen by now. Duke says next one will probably be some Ryzen 7 again. Might even keep the 2070. Yeah, thankfully prices seem to be more sane now that that whole crypto craze has died down a bit. I'm not sure how AI now influences pricing, because yeah, I've never cared much about hardware up until I had to get my own workstation, and when I got into home labbing and was looking for a server. And that really opened my eyes for how capable older hardware still is. I mean, I simply bought a used Dell workstation from 2018, expanded its RAM and put in an NVMe drive. And that Xeon CPU is still humming and doing a great job. So that's another reason why I won't have to buy a new workstation anytime soon. Because that Ryzen 9 was probably overkill from the get-go and completely overspec'd. On a personal note, I'm excited to do some karate again after more than a decade of not doing any kind of martial arts. We discovered that there is a karate club in the town next over, so that completely shocked me because I was on the lookout for karate clubs and couldn't find any. I must have been completely blind. No idea how that ever happened. But yeah, today we're going to try one of the clubs, and there are actually two that we have a choice. So yeah, looking forward to getting into martial arts again. It'll be a struggle. I'll be sweating, but it's going to be fun, I'm pretty sure. Interesting question coming in on qa.monospacementor.com. What is the most underrated ergonomic purchase? I have no idea, because I'm not sure about the awareness of the general populace in terms of ergonomics in the first place. I would say it's buying an buckling spring keyboard. No, I'm just kidding. I guess I'll just follow common advice and say the first ergonomic purchase you make should be a good chair. And Balthasar is thinking a little bit outside the box here, saying a pillow, good sleep is essential, which is actually great advice. Just yesterday, we got a new mattress for our bedroom, and it's, pardon the pun, night and day. I'm still waking up with a sore back because it's so much harder than our previous 8-year-old mattress, but I'm pretty sure that's a good thing. And once I accommodate it, I'll probably sleep like a cat, and I'm very much looking forward to that because, as Balthasar said, good sleep is essential. All the keyboards, chairs, standing desks, and other things in the world won't help you do a good job if you are tired, if you can't focus, if you don't have the energy to come up with great stuff. Nancodes asks, what kind of chair do you have? I have an Herman Miller Aeron, and it's not because I like to spend a lot of money on furniture. Actually, Aerons are so well built that you can easily get a used one for a fraction of the list price. So we're talking about a few $100 instead of more than $1,000, without having to be concerned that it'll break down anytime soon. My last Aeron chair lasted for 10 more years, I think, and I bought it already used, so it probably had 15 or more years in the end. And my current one will probably reach the same age. I've had this one also for quite a few years now, and I also bought it used. I'm going to continue doing that same pattern over and over again. Once this one breaks down and can't be repaired using pieces that are easily available on eBay, then I'll just give it away for free, and someone else will still have fun with the very used chair by then, and I'll get myself another used Aeron, and I'm pretty happy with it. It has this mesh seat and back, which makes for great breathability, and it has all the stuff that I need. So that's definitely my recommendation in terms of chairs. Balthasar says I'd have to look it up, but mine is a memory foam pillow with an ergonomic shape that cradles both my head and my body, which helps me as a side sleeper. I need to get myself one of these as well. I have a foam pillow, but it's not memory foam, and I think something that has even a little bit more support for me, who's a side sleeper too. I simply can't, for the life of me, sleep on my back. Except if I'm completely exhausted, then I might actually simply fall asleep from exhaustion. But if I'm in a normal state and I lay on my back, I will lay there an hour later and I will still be awake. I have no idea why that is. And at one point, I won't just keep laying on my back anymore, because my body will scream for me to get on one of my sides, and then I'll be probably off to dreamland within minutes. Yep, I was already aware that Exegete is another Aeron aficionado. He says, I bought Aerons after buying a new chair every single year for 5 years straight. I've had both my Aerons for 10 plus years now. Yep. Can second that experience. Solidev, welcome! Good to have you. Welcome to the stack. Laying on my back feels unnatural, Solidev says. I sleep on my left usually. I oscillate between my left side and my right side. I prefer my left side, but that's because I sleep on the left side of the bed, which means there's simply more space in front of my face, more perceived fresh air than facing the middle of the bed and basically facing my wife. Solidas says, a new Aeron every year? What the fuck? Really? No, that's not what he meant. He kept buying non-Aeron chairs every year because they broke, and then he started buying Aeron chairs. And that broke that streak of buying new chairs all the time. Bethesda says, thinking more in line with the scope of the ask, though, I would say that having a tenting split keyboard does wonders for my shoulders. It's great, but it's not essential. Yeah. I guess I would emphasize split keyboard. I tried tenting, and I'm meh on tenting. Maybe a slight incline to the outside. To the middle. Is okay, but it doesn't have to be terribly tented. But having a split keyboard is definitely an ergonomic choice, simply for the fact that you can actually separate your hands shoulder width apart, and that's just much better in terms of body physics than forcing your hands together in the middle, and then even forcing your hands to rotate on your wrists to actually type on a keyboard. If you can not only keep a natural line between your arm and your fingers, but also separate them shoulder width apart, that's definitely more ergonomic and doesn't actually require much getting used to, I think. So Dev says, I know a couple of streamers who are trying the Digma Defi. One is using it, the other is getting it free in the next day or two. Yeah, I think Digma is doing influencer outreach at the moment. I see them more on Twitch as well. And actually, in terms of off-the-shelf keyboards, the Defi is not too bad, actually. Both of my split... I actually have 4 split keyboards, 2 of which I don't really use anymore. I should probably give them away eventually. One is the Kinesis Edge. That was my first split keyboard. The one that Anthony is using on his stream, has been using for years now. Then my business partner gave me his Keyboardio Model 1 because he didn't really get used to it. It has a very interesting design, but the switches aren't great. Back in the day they used what are they called? I have a box here. What's that box? They have Matthias switches in there, and those switches aren't great, and it's not a hot swap keyboard, so I would have to desolder all these switches. And since they are Matthias switches on the based on the Alps switches, I wouldn't even be able to replace them with Cherry compatible switches. So I saved myself the hassle, and now it's only a showpiece because of its great wooden case. The split keyboards I use are a Korn in an aluminium case, and a Lulu, which is another common split keyboard, namely the Lily 55, but in a I'd say luxury case as well, in an aluminium case. So yeah, those are the ones that I can recommend, and I mostly use the Lulu nowadays, and I'm pretty happy with it. I've actually switched over to the Colmac layout on that. I've been using QWERTY keyboards now for 2 weeks or so, so it's going to be interesting when I switch back to the Lulu and its Colmac layout. Maybe my brain will throw itself into a knot. I have no idea. We'll see how much of my muscle memory is going to return. Exegete says, I find the subtle tint on the Voyager to be pretty darn awesome. I can imagine, yeah. Just a subtle tint is probably always nice and doesn't require much getting used to. And the Voyager is another great off-the-shelf split keyboard. It's on the more expensive side, but on the other hand, the Digma Defi is probably at the same price point. Now we have engineers literally throwing their weights around in chat. Have fun. Let's see how karate does in reducing mine a little bit, because I would love seeing that. Maybe I'll even have to buy a smaller sized karate suit. Or imagine having to buy a shorter belt. All right, friends, it's 3 o'clock and there are no additional questions on the board anymore. So Puffin says 78 kilos. Yay, my diet is working. Good for you. Yeah, I'm still at about 100 and I would love to shed 5 or even 10 kilos. Exegete says riding the buck feet to get keto to everywhere, I guess, has been doing well for my weight. Yep, that is definitely helpful. Okay, so this concludes this week's office hour. This was a lot of fun. And apparently our new mattress is giving me enough energy to get through these hours talking a lot. So yeah, I hope you had fun. I did. Time to go drug driving, says Exegete. Let me think. Do I have the time? Oh, sorry. Nope, no truck driving today, because at the moment I actually am simply exercising parking a trailer, which is not great entertainment. Watching me for an hour going back and forth between on the same at the same place over and over. I have been doing that for more than an hour, I think, last night, and yeah, I'm getting better, especially if I use the out of the window view, where I can actually see where the end of my trailer is going. So I'll continue doing that today, I think, because I actually bought, in-game of course, and we're talking about Euro Truck Simulator here, I actually bought a trailer for my own company, even though usually we transport trailers of our customers. I bought a trailer for my company just so I can use it to practice parking it in all kinds of places. So I'll get back to that. So Puffin asks, what you got in that bag? Wait, what? What? Oh, wait. Sorry, Dev said, my bag weight 78 kilos. What you got in that bag? Okay, I get it now. Sorry. This went far over my head. All right, folks. So, yeah, this is it for this week. I'll be back next week. Is there anything in the way? No, I think I should be able to do my regularly scheduled stream on Tuesday. Yesterday, unfortunately, I didn't feel like doing a stream. Sorry for that. I am a little bit susceptible to bad news, which make my battery levels drop significantly, instantly. And that's something we can talk about at another time when we'll talk about mental health and things like that. But for now, I'm just looking forward to the weekend, and I hope you're going to have a great one too. Let's see if there is anyone who we are going to raid. Let's see. There are quite a few names that I do not recognize at all. Noncode says bye, rest well. You too, have a great Friday and weekend. Duke says you do use stream when you feel like it. You feel energized enough. Yeah, definitely. I made that mistake in my early years, where I forced myself to do a stream, and then I was disappointed in myself because it was so meh. Yeah, I should have known that from the get-go. You know what? I can't really find someone... Well, oh yeah, we could raid Togglebit. I didn't do that in a while, I guess. So yeah, we'll hop over to Togglebit and say hello for me. Until then, take care.